It's connecting numbers to strategy in a way that's meaningful for the person doing the work. You've got a visionary leader. We're going to do all these great things. And 6 months later, nothing's done. No one's translating the vision into actionable steps.
Welcome to Builders, Budgets, and Beers. I'm Reece Barnes, and I started this podcast to have real conversations about money in the building industry, the wins, the mistakes, and everything in between. I believe builders deserve to feel confident about their finances, and that starts by hearing from others who've been through it too. This industry can be slow to change, but the right stories and the right tools can make profitability feel possible. Let's get into it. Alrighty, Andrew, mics are hot. We're rolling. Thanks for jumping on the old Builders, Budgets, and Beers, sir.
Yeah, man, you got it, Reece. Thanks for having me. It's great to join you.
Yeah, of course. It's been a long time coming. It has.
It's been a long time since that first webinar where I asked tons of questions. I'm pretty sure somebody in the audience was like, if somebody has lots of questions, can they call after? Ready to be done.
Yeah. This guy's throwing off the flow.
That was a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah. We got a good little history here, but we'll unpack that. But first, for the audience, Andrew, give them a little intro, a little background on yourself, who you are, what your professional background is, what you're passionate about, just some of the basics.
Yeah, sure. So, it's been such a crooked line to getting where I am today. So, grew up in Virginia, graduated from Penn State, spent 3 years being a golf professional.
Really?
I did. Yeah.
In what sense? Golfing? Like you were golfing?
I didn't play. I worked at clubs. So I worked at Aronimink. Aronimink's awesome. Favorite course. I'm really going to cause some controversy because I think Aronimink is better than Marion. Oh.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Somebody in the audience is going to go crazy. So, yes, spent 3 years in the golf business. Decided working when everyone else is playing wasn't fun. So, but I love coaching and teaching. My family, I come from a long line of teachers and educators. So I got into sales. Why not? Because because that makes sense. So got into sales, had an affinity or comfort zone with construction. So I worked for Pella Windows for a while. Then I worked for a paint contractor in Philly. I was living in Philly. Found a consulting company that I really liked and started doing sales training with them. Worked my way up. So I ended up working there for 18 years.
Wow. Okay.
So spent a lot of time doing things like this, podcasts and things.
Yeah.
So helping, at the time, it was over 500 companies that I had worked with. So went from, I got out of college, which was a success in itself, got to golf, went into sales, started training, started learning business, went back to school, got an MBA from Penn State, started working with people on financials and connecting financials to goals and mapping things out rather than just sort of haphazardly going about things. Yeah. Ended up working for one of my customers. The last year and a half, I worked for one of my customers. They needed somebody full time, and my family. My wife. I got 6 kids. We were looking for an adventure. So yeah, how about that?
Yeah,
love that. For now, 6 for now. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
So we wanted an adventure. So did that. That was how I came across Adaptive. Fell in love, so to speak, with Adaptive. And as of 2 months ago, I actually decided to get back into consulting. So I joined Precision SME Group as an equity partner with them. Joined there. It was a startup organization. And so now back helping contractors and other small businesses just get better at getting better. Really what it comes down to.
I mean, that kind of sounds like the general theme of your career. That's a pretty
crooked path. Yes, helping people get better and get better at getting better, I think is a theme throughout.
Yeah. Okay. And in your consulting background, you work exclusively with contractors, or was it with like a variety of different businesses?
A variety, but the vast majority were contractors. Yeah, in the
Okay.
contracting world. So my mom's side of the family was a contracting family. Her father was Mason, GC. The brother took over the business. My dad worked in construction as well. My wife's father worked in construction. He's a general contractor. So it's an affinity in
Yeah,
the
of course.
construction world.
Yeah, I was just at a panel about AI and construction with Shamit Design and Construction, big firm out in Boston.
Cool.
And there was a comment that was made as like once you get construction in your blood, there's no way you get it out.
Oh yeah,
You're just kind of locked.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So tell us a little about Precision SME. What is SME? Subject matter expert? What does that stand for?
It stands for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Small to medium enterprise. No, it officially it stands for strategy, management, and execution.
Ooh. Okay.
So I like to say that when strategy isn't being executed, or everyone's executing on their own strategy, the missing part is management.
Sure.
And I think that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
We were talking about before we hit record.
Yeah.
So yes, we from every level, we help people get better at getting better at every level of that. The biggest need we see is the part people least want to talk about, which is management and being managers. We want to talk a lot about strategy. We want to talk a lot about execution, and execution doesn't happen, or everybody's executing on their own strategy because there's no managers. Managers translate.
Sure. Okay.
So management is learning how to manage.
Yes. Well, and that's like, I think, going to resonate exceptionally well. And I'll ask you a question after this. But I think the management piece, especially in construction, is going to be a great conversation because just the nature of the industry, right? You have a lot of, a lot of salt of the earth folks, a lot of really hard, honest work. There's a lot of manual labor that goes in this. You really have to earn your stripes, right? And there's a lot of people that I feel like just carry the mentality of, why can't they just do it this way, right? And
So this is the universal question. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to help people across the world, but in construction specifically, that why do good people get promoted and fail?
Yeah.
So as consultants, you end up subscribing to schools of thought. So like Austrian economics, that's a school of thought. So we are huge into lean and bringing Lean Six Sigma into construction as a way of teaching managers how to manage. We're also big into levels of work, or also called requisite organization, which was developed by a guy named Elliot Jacks. He was a professor at the University of Toronto, and really starting back in the 50s, he started studying organizations, worked with the U.S. Army, worked with some mining organizations, but studied organizational growth for over 50 years, and asked this very question: why do people get promoted just to fail? And so in construction, there's a lot of, you have to know the trade in order to oversee it. But at some point, getting better at building a building doesn't help you run a business better.
Right.
And so Elliot actually defined 8 levels of distinct work.
Okay.
That knowing more at the layer below doesn't help you to the layer above. And levels one and 2 exist for work and overseeing the work, supervision. But at some point, like I said, getting great at building a building doesn't prepare you for the next level to be an operations manager or GM, or it's a completely different skill.
Yeah.
And so one reason why we exist is to help prevent that.
I'm just like, so there's 8 levels, right?
Yeah.
But like you're
it's
totally
so popular, there's a name for it. You've heard of the Peter Principle. You get promoted until you fail. That's the Peter Principle. It's such a problem. There's a name for it.
Yeah, wild. Okay, and I mean that's exactly like that's essentially what I was trying to explain. Of like salt of the earth, hard work, trades, years, expertise, right? All this stuff, but it's like just because you can build a fantastic custom home, right? Or you're the best at building highway infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that you're going to be the guy that can run that. And I think that's kind of like a blank area in the space. So we could definitely touch on that. But I think the question that I would ask you is like, and this might have already been answered, so just confirm it if it has. But what is the one conversation, in your opinion, that you think needs to be had more in construction that isn't being had in construction?
So I think I would answer that this way, certainly based on what I know and what I see. So relevant to my world, other people would answer this differently, but
Of course.
I think it's connecting numbers to strategy. But
Okay.
for those in the audience that just rejected that answer because we attach revenue to strategy all the time.
Yeah.
It's connecting numbers to strategy in a way that's meaningful for the person doing the work. And you mentioned, like you reiterated earlier, the 8 levels of work. Yeah, there's 8 levels of distinct work, and only like America is level 8.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the biggest idea. And each level gets more and more conceptual. So the language between each layer changes. So people don't speak each other's languages.
Yeah.
So you've got a visionary leader who's casting a vision, and we're going to do all these great things, and 6 months later, nothing's done.
Yeah.
That's management, that no one's translating the vision into actionable steps.
Okay. So in that situation,
so how do we connect numbers? How do we up and down the organization at each level? How do we connect the numbers we're looking at in a meaningful way to the individuals doing the work?
How do you? I'm sitting here like, well, how do you do it?
Yeah, first is understand levels of work. And understand,
let's go over them. What are the 8 levels?
Distinct needs. Sure. So do a Google search for a guy named Elliot Jacks.
Is that Jacks?
He's Canadian, so there's no C. Jacques.
Oh, like Jacques.
Yes. But pronounced Jacks. Elliot Jacks.
Okay.
And then I'll also talk about a mentor of mine, Tom Foster, who is a disciple of Elliot Jacks.
Okay.
I just typed it just to make sure. Yes, there is no C, and it is pronounced Jacks.
Okay. Cool.
So he's not French; he's Canadian. But Tom Foster, look up managementblog.org. Tom Foster, they talk all about this. So level 1 is the level of quality and real work. You're using physical tools. That's also true for not just trades, but computers and designers and coders, that whatever real tool they're using.
Mm-hmm.
Level 2, you're at level 1 when you're making decisions about either or. I can do this or I can do that.
Okay.
Level 2 is about an accumulation of knowledge that over time I've learned how to do the work, and I can help other people do the work. I know I'm at level 2 when I'm using checklists. There's also an aspect of level 2 where you're making sure the work gets done. So a professional trade or career would often automatically be at level 2 because a brain surgeon is doing the work and at the exact same time making sure the work gets done right. So a lawyer, a doctor, but also a senior craftsman is not only doing the work, but making sure the work gets done right.
Sure. Okay.
So you're at level 2 when you're starting to coordinate. So and do this and do that.
Okay.
Level 3, which these 3 layers comprise the building blocks of our departments. Level 3 is the first level that becomes separated from the work itself. And now I'm designing the context by which people work. I'm designing the systems within which people live. So level 3 creates the checklist. Level 2 uses the checklist. Level one does the work that's on the checklist. And that's
Yes.
depending on the size of your organization. Sometimes that's all one person.
Right.
Level
Okay.
four is, so thus far we've gone vertical, understanding one department. Level four is about integration. And so now we're going horizontal, that we're integrating the different departments together.
Mm-hmm.
And level five now is starting to look external to the company, that there's vision, values, our place in the market, branding, level five type work. And none of the layers below prepare a person for the layer above. So getting really good at a trade doesn't prepare you for coordinating tasks between crews, level two.
Sure.
And getting really good at following checklists and knowing procedures, making sure the work gets done, none of that prepares you to get good at root cause, process mapping, efficiency within a department. And getting good at that within a department doesn't prepare you to look horizontally across all the different departments and understand that if this is happening in sales, then this can't happen in operations. I have to make that horizontal connection.
Sure. Okay.
And getting good at that doesn't prepare you for visioning and market analysis and positioning and price levels. And so it starts to get clear. It's like lean and waste. The two fit together very well, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you know, John is a fantastic a staff accountant. I mean, he comes in, he does work, and he makes, to steal from Tom Foster, he makes the best potato salad at the company picnic. Yeah. Everybody loves this guy. He's been around forever. Of course he knows everything. Yeah. So let's make John the controller.
Yeah.
6 months later, accounts aren't reconciled, stuff's not getting done, communication isn't happening.
Yeah.
Because nothing at level one or level two prepared him for what was next. And we just think, well, he's good at this, he'll be good at that, he'll be good at the next level. And so we promote people into failure.
Sure. Okay. So, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, so if we just, last thing, if we keep riffing, so this gets to your question, I think, in connecting numbers in a meaningful way to people, not just broad things. I love to say projects, not promotions.
Okay. Makes a ton of sense.
When Jack Welch was leaving GE, he had, at one point, I think he had 3 people doing his job. I know at one point he had 2 people that were already doing his job, and then they picked who the CEO is.
Interesting.
Okay, so in the audience, I would say, think about the last time you promote with hope. I promote and hope. Promote.
Yeah.
I hope he does a great job. He'll learn. He'll pick it up. Let me see what happens. He'll pick it up. We'll see what happens. Then we'll see, and then we'll look again. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see if he's picking it up. Do not promote people without at least 3 project confirmations.
Okay.
So at the very basic level, this is the foreman for a day. If you're on the type of work that, you can let somebody be foreman for a day. Let's see how they do.
Yeah.
We'll give them feedback. Or letting other people run meetings.
Yeah.
How they do. Giving a process improvement or charging a couple of people with getting better at something. You come back with an idea, and you go to a conference or you go somewhere and you have this idea and you appoint 3 people. You guys figure this out. Let's talk about it. Come back to me. But now I've given them a project. Now I have evidence of whether the person can do the work at the next level or not. And so the tool is the project. So checklists. Yeah. If you got somebody who wants to be a supervisor, say, all right, make me a checklist.
Yeah.
Are they thinking at that level? Can they make a detailed checklist for how a process ought to work? And then they can go oversee other people.
Yeah. Okay.
So now the connection. What is our growth? Where are we going? What projects are we putting into place for this year? Step back, make a staffing plan. What people do I need to be where? Who's my next foreman promotion? Is anybody ready for a supervisor or superintendent or project manager promotion? So by June, we need this person to be at a place where they're ready to be a project manager. Those are all measurable numbers. We are going to achieve $30 million in revenue. We did 19 million last year. We're going to do 25 this year. We're going to do 30 or 32 next year. Reece, because of that, I need you to be ready to be a project manager by June.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be part of a group of people we're going to train. Now the numbers just got meaningful. Maybe we're coming up with examples on the fly, but
yeah,
now that number just got meaningful to you. What?
Right.
What's okay? We're doing $30 million in revenue. What's that mean to me? So I read an Inc. magazine article many years ago that I wish I could find, and I can't find it, but I've remembered it ever since. People want 4 things. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? How can I help? What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about strategy. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Yeah. We're going to 30 million, and we're going to do it by remodeling work, and we're going to expand our territory. Great strategy. Where's the management? Where are we translating strategy into what's that mean to me?
Yeah.
We talk a lot about maybe what's in it for me and how can I help? Like, you're going to be our sales rep. You're going to go sell, and you're going to have to go do business development, and you'll get a 10% commission.
Yeah.
If you're in roofing, or maybe it's 8 or 10% commission, or whatever industry you're in. But nobody's translating that into the strategy. Why is that important? And I know, so Reece, I've really said some controversial things.
I'm just listening. I'm soaking it in. Keep going. You're fine.
What was I'm drawing a blank on the first thing I said, which was, Aronimink is better than Marion. A whole bunch of people in the audience just like rolled over. And some people rolled over in their
golf
grave.
course.
Sorry, guys. Aronimink's better than Marion. The a controversial thing, maybe. Reece, I have never met one person who came to work purposefully to do a bad job.
Yeah. No one starts a job with that intention. No.
I know a bunch of people in the audience maybe just laughed. I've had people laugh at me, like, you don't know who we work with.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have no idea why they're doing what they're doing.
Totally.
And that takes translation, because you're casting vision, which is level 5. We're skipping over level 4 and level 3, and we're preaching it to level 2 and level 1.
Right.
Which, by the way, I'll not to get sidetracked, but I will say a clarification. So, Reece, if you go to the Grand Canyon, what do you see?
A huge hole in the ground.
Huge hole. And on the side of the Grand Canyon, as you look down, what do you see?
A bunch of ridges.
Bunch of layers and ridges.
Yeah.
You see layers. Are any of those layers any more important than the other layers?
No, they're all a bunch of layers.
They're all equally. All the layers in an organization are equal. So that's why Elliot actually called them stratums, not levels, because he didn't want people to rank them and higher. They're all important. So we're talking strategy and casting vision, but it's level 4 and 3, the actual management level, that people often hate. They don't talk about, why do we need managers? It's just a waste of money. But no one's translating, excuse me, broad concepts into tangible action.
Yeah.
And so then it just stops. So there's very little strategy. We just do quarterly execution meetings. And all of a sudden we've left Spain, and we have no idea if we're going to Florida or Massachusetts,
Right.
just going. So we're executing every strategy.
Yeah.
And it's that layer of management that requires translation.
Why is that, do you think, that we'll just call it level 3 and 4, that they just get overlooked? I would say it, like, initially, that's the hardest
Because they don't
part.
do work. The way we work, they're the first layers that are connecting strategy in a meaningful way to numbers that's relevant for that particular individual.
Yeah.
But they're not doing work. So this is where lean comes in. So, teaching people leader standard work and how to audit, how to track numbers, looking for patterns. So I'm not putting nails in the wood. As a manager, I'm not. My job is to make everybody else better. They also think managers are hammer holders. In other words, it's just command and control.
Yeah,
That
they're
I know how
leaning
to
on the
manage.
shovel.
I'll just boss people around. That's not a manager. A manager in this context is based on value. Now, sometimes command and control is needed. Somebody breaks their leg, like command and control. I'm not using a democratic style leadership when somebody breaks their leg. But why have managers? Why are these layers needed? Because they bring value to the layers above and below it. So what's the way that level 3 and level 4 bring value to the organization? It's by prioritizing. Never make your people prioritize on their own. Help them prioritize.
Yeah.
So you're on a beach. I'm really going off on the analogies. You're on a beach.
Okay.
And the tide goes out. The kids are like, sweet, look at all these shells. It's going way out. Yeah. And look at all these shells. And the parents are on the beach and they're looking around. Like, okay, look, it looks fine. I don't see any sharks. How do you know whether that's low tide or a tsunami?
Yeah.
They look the same from the beach. It's the lifeguard. It's the guy in the chair.
Yeah.
The guy with perspective, or gal with perspective.
Yeah.
Managers have perspective. So we only have one boom lift. Who gets the boom lift? You don't make project managers argue over who gets the boom lift. A manager needs to make that decision. Yeah. So the manager is responsible for the output of other people. What makes a manager is being responsible for the output of other people. If I'm going to get great output from other people, number one, I need to bring them value, answer their questions. That doesn't mean I make them dependent. There's a balance there, but I'm prioritizing. I'm making decisions when tough decisions need to be made so that it's on me, not them. Mm-hmm. I'm connecting vision to execution.
Correct.
In a meaningful way.
Okay. And that goes back into connecting the numbers to strategy.
To answer
the numbers being the execution.
Crooked line to answering your question, yes, is in a meaningful way connecting strategy to the individual.
Okay. Now, that's a
manager's role. Translating is a manager's role.
Okay. And the reason why people, well, we can just talk construction here, like primarily what you've seen, the reason why construction can lack in management, or that can be the step that's overlooked or not emphasized, prioritized, is because it's not seen as like a value producing task. But when really, like, that's where almost all of the value is created, because without it, you're not mapping the vision to execution.
Yeah. Who's making the process better?
Yeah.
Who's designing the systems by which people work? Yeah. So in a small business, this is tough because the owner has figured this out. They've worked their way up. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's hard when other people can't do what we think is easy.
Right.
I would also say the details of the work and the complexity of the work often dictate what the person can do in the role. So if I was to say to you, Reece, great meeting you, let's go hang out in Denver and let's fly. And you would say, all right, great, I'll get the tickets, boom, done. But I was to say, dude, road trip, man. Let's take a road trip to Denver. Whoa. All right, everything just got a whole lot more complex.
Yeah. Totally.
I can measure that complexity.
Yeah.
So how long would it take you to get plane tickets?
2 seconds.
Certain amount of time.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to plan a road trip to Denver?
3 weeks.
A much longer time.
Yeah.
All right. So the longer the time span of a project, the more complex it is.
Yeah.
And that complexity is going to demand my attention.
Totally.
So translating vision into execution, this piece, why are we assigning particular jobs to particular crews? Like, why should that crew get that job?
I would assume it's because like you have reason to believe that they could do it better.
Because they're just next in line,
or next in sure.
Because we know they've done these projects before. Managers make sure it's the right crew with the right job at the right time, with the right materials, with the right equipment. So a foreman might say, hey, I got a broken ladder. And a field supervisor might say, are there any other broken ladders? A manager says, how do we never have a broken ladder again?
Yeah.
The details of the field supervisor's job are going to pull that role down to a place where they're not going to think about that process.
Right.
So it's very much the role that dictates the action, not the person. I think this is a key point, that it's about the role, not the person.
And having that role defined and the buy-in from leadership to emphasize that role is the important piece.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to ask people to do things that are above their time span, that are above their level of work. I mean, when you're asking people to do things and it's not getting done, step back and say, all right, am I asking someone to do the work? Am I asking someone to make sure the work gets done? Or am I asking someone to design a process and fix a reoccurring problem? Those are three very distinct types of work that three very different brains execute on.
Totally.
And so some of that is cognitive maturity. So I'll give a shout out to my friends at peoplefit.com that talk a lot about CIP, cognitive information processing. And the brain matures at a predictable rate where higher levels of work can be done. So this is part of experience. You start at the bottom, you move to the top. I mean, these are very organic, observable things. It's not, levels of work isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
But to apply it can be very tough.
Yeah.
So you have, the older you get, eventually you crest, but yeah, the older you get, the more your brain matures. And so these are three very different types of cognitive information processing. So doing the work, making sure the work gets done, level 2. Level 3, root cause, process analysis, designing the work by which we do. How do we do this better?
Okay.
So analysis, improvement, root cause, that's level 3 work.
I'm curious, like, because you mentioned like how do you prepare, the level 2 person into the level 3 person, right? You give them projects, right?
Bingo. Dude, you're a good listener.
Yeah.
Projects, not promotions. So you say, hey, I want us to have a better shop process. I want the two of you guys to get together, or gals, and make me a suggestion. Monitor the process and design me a better way for foreman to return unused equipment and materials to the shop.
And then they go out and do it.
And then, it might be bad, it might be terrible, but it might be awesome, it might be bad. But they've thought about and they've proven that they can do a level 3 task and analyze root cause and design a process.
But then you also said, so I'm tracking on the project side. But then you mentioned, I think it was between level 3 and 4 and 5, like level 4 and 5 isn't really reliant on the hammer swinging, right? We'll just call it the hammer swinging. Like you don't, in order to be an
So
exceptional
the
level
bossing
4 or
people
5.
around, the command and control,
Yeah.
I think is what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. I have 4 as the integration piece and then 5 is the external and vision.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so then how do you is like, you see these people that are like, accelerate through their careers, right? Or like even in a construction company, like you're thinking about who are the high slope people, right? They might not have the experience, but are you essentially giving them projects from an integration standpoint and an external vision standpoint that you're like, I don't need this guy to be like a great hammer swinger. I just know that they're going to be like going up into the right. I'm essentially trying to figure out like,
I think people would agree that the best craftsman is not the best supervisor, and the best supervisor is not the best operations manager.
Yeah.
The best sales rep is not the best sales manager.
Yeah. Totally.
Michael Jordan is not going to make a great coach.
Totally.
Larry Bird could only do it for 3 years and then I'm out.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson's never even tried. I mean, the best players are rarely the best supervisors and managers.
Yeah.
So what's the minimum? We need to define a minimum of what they need to know. It's still very difficult to bring someone completely from the outside. But if someone understands the skills of management, I mean, I've seen a lot of people go between trades, back and forth between different trades and do different things. There's a ramp up period. But if you're attracted, a person will continue to gravitate up towards the level of work that challenges them. So if you have people that are giving you suggestions about how to improve, engage that person.
Yeah. Do you find that in the construction space, we'll call it the 4 or 5 level people, do you see that happening often, or do you see in construction that being a more resistant concept of like engaging people? Because
I see it all the time. I think people are trying. I think honestly, people have tried. It's failed, and they've either given up or maybe it was the wrong person. They've been burned. They've tried these things. Construction is a safety heavy environment. I can't just put anybody out there, and I have to be careful with the product. So that's why that goes back to projects, not promotions, on job sites, on anywhere in sales. I don't give a new sales rep a huge bid to do their third day. I slowly build them up into doing bigger and bigger things. So no, I think in earnest, people have tried this. And this is where, for us at Precision, we love stepping in and helping people design better feedback systems, improvement systems. How do we integrate these ideas? How do I capture them? And how do I know before I give a person a project or a job, something in work, I give them a promotion or a project, meaning work, that I know they can do it. I've seen it happen at big companies and small companies. The $30 million remodeler gave a job to a supervisor. The PM was good, but the supervisor was the first time they'd ever done something like this. They knew. And there were certain things that had to happen to adapt. Some people have done those things. Some people just give it to the supervisor and can't understand why they can't figure it out.
Right.
Other people, so we just gave someone a project that's more complex than they've demonstrated capability for. So I shrink my time span. I check in with them more frequently. These are things we do. Some are very natural to do, but I think people have tried, and it's hard. It's hard to get it right. It's hard. It's scary to share vision and to share. It's like, is this person just going to go start their own company? It's scary. So there's ways of doing it. There's ways of doing it appropriately. Yes, you're going to get burned, but you got to keep trying. The role of management is to first bring value to the organization.
Yeah.
You do that by translating vision into tangible action, helping people prioritize, making the tough decisions. We're at an airport and it's snowing, and there's 2 planes that need to take off. One plane has ice. The other plane needs a new wheel.
Yeah.
There's only one extra plane. Who gets the plane? Well, the pilots don't want to make that decision.
Yeah.
So that's the manager. Somebody's got to step up and make the decision and be accountable for the output of other people. Make a decision. Somebody gets the plane. Here's another example that I like to give. When people don't speak up at meetings.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a meeting and nobody's speaking up, immediately say, anything that goes wrong is my fault. Team, I need your feedback, and I need your honest feedback on a decision. I'm going to make the decision, and if it will be my fault. I've said this to people at the previous consulting company I was at. We were working on a project.
Yeah.
And people were struggling, and I said, guys, team, if this goes wrong, it's my fault. What I need from you guys is to work hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the decision you could see it in the room. Everybody
just relief.
Relaxed.
Yeah.
Just relax. It's my decision. I need your feedback. And it took a second, but I started getting honest feedback. We should not do this, or we should do this.
They just see what happens.
Yeah. Just if people are afraid to speak openly because they're afraid it's going to be their fault.
Right.
It's one reason. That's not every reason. But if you find yourself in a meeting and nobody's speaking up, whoever's the leader needs to stand up and say, this is my decision. It's my fault.
Then you get the feedback.
I'm going to make the decision. I need everybody here to give me their honest feedback.
Yeah.
A lot of times we went with Bob's idea. It was his idea. And all of a sudden now Bob's not going to participate anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So a primary way managers bring value. So in the absence of managers, you have nobody participating in meetings. You have people pointing fingers at each other. Nothing can get solved. Everybody's who gets the plane? Who gets the boom lift?
Yeah.
You have a vision that doesn't get executed on.
Yeah.
Because no one's attaching vision in a meaningful way to the people.
Yeah. This is great.
So now I can't help but bring up lean. And I would say people in the audience look up leader standard work and now take that discussion and turn it into a checklist. So for example, a sales manager, if I'm going to be a sales manager, I have to step out from individual leads and I have to look at how long is it taking leads to get through the system? Do we have enough leads to hire a new sales rep? What's the quality of my pipeline? Do I have how big does my pipeline need to be in order to sell what we need to sell? How fast are leads turning over? How can my team get to leads faster and faster in a better way? How can I increase throughput while reducing inventory and reducing operating expense?
Yeah.
It's easy to do one of those, but to do all three, that's what the manager is figuring out. So the numbers I look at are going to be very different as a sales manager than as a sales rep.
Totally. This was great. There was a lot of listening, but I think you answered the question perfectly of like, what is the conversation that needs to be had that isn't being had enough in construction? You had a lot of really great examples in tying back through the different levels and why management gets slept on. I'm just curious, do you have any closing thoughts?
I appreciate that. Thank you for your compliment. This is a topic, respecting people and fixing systems is something I'm very, very passionate about. So sometimes people need training and leadership. We lead people, we fix systems. So how do we make doing the wrong thing impossible?
How do we make doing the wrong thing impossible?
Yeah, if you go to a gas station, it's impossible to put a diesel pump in your gasoline car. How do we design systems so that doing the wrong thing is impossible?
Yeah.
That's respecting people So ask them for their feedback. Ask them, how do we go about making this job better? When mistakes happen, don't ask whose fault it was. Ask, how did the system allow this outcome to happen? And what do we need to do? So, an example in manufacturing is we design systems that, all the bolts are coming down a conveyor belt, and there's a little arm that flips all the bolts over so that they're all facing up.
Yeah.
Well, in sales, you do confirmation calls.
Yeah.
I do a confirmation call to make sure that the owner is going to be there. And I catch owners that have forgotten before I get out there.
Yeah.
So I'm error proofing.
Yeah.
I'm going out to bids and people aren't there. It's happening way too many times that people have forgotten.
Yeah.
So we error proof. I fix the system. I send emails, reminders, calendar appointments, confirmation calls. So instead of asking blame, how do we make doing the wrong thing impossible?
Yeah. I love it. You're a wealth of knowledge, Andrew.
Appreciate that.
I think this truly, I think this is a topic that we haven't touched on. And I think it's like massively applicable in terms of what we generally talk about, which is like construction accounting, right? And the reason this is applicable is because I think everyone's like, oh, like what's the process here? Like, oh, would you get burned on, or how do you do this? Mm-hmm. Whereas this is mapping to your earlier comment of, yeah, we have plenty. We have plenty of strategy. We have plenty of execution. We map revenue to our goals all the time. And it's like, but no, like the missing layer of getting that strategy to the execution is the management conduit, if you will,
in their role. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think there are people out there that need help learning how to manage. They've got the capability, they've got the experience in the industry, but they've never encountered leader standard work or root cause analysis or a 5 whys exercise or a process diagram and understanding bottlenecks and how to exploit the constraints in a system so that it works evenly.
Totally.
I mean, that's all the stuff that makes everybody else better. So the first value that a manager brings, or the first purpose that a manager brings, is to bring value in decision making and problem solving to the people below. So don't expect the people below you to prioritize. Help them prioritize. So the lifeguard in the chair. The lifeguard in the chair is the one that has perspective.
Yeah.
And I can help parents prioritize, hey, you should go down the beach. There's a riptide coming and you guys shouldn't go there. You should go over here. Or why don't you do this first and that second?
Yeah.
Help your team. Don't make your team prioritize on their own, because a manager brings that longer sight to help them see what they can't see.
Totally. Andrew, how do people find you?
Sure. So, new website. We're getting rebrand. We're doing a whole rebrand with me coming on board. So you can check us out. There's a under construction site, precision-sme.com. Precision.sme.com. You can also check out,
not dot, precision-sme.com. I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
So in lean, that's called poka-yoke. So you just corrected, you prevented me from doing it the wrong way.
Here we go.
You fixed it.
Was that a test?
It was, and you passed.
Yeah.
These are the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
So precision-sme.com. You can also check out our planning app at app.precision-sme.com to learn more about lean and levels of work planning, how it works.
Okay.
So thanks for letting me make that shameless plug. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. No, and the reason I said it is because I think, like, candidly, I think there was enough tactical in here, definitely enough analogies to get people's gears turning. And I think this is I'm sure I'm sitting here. I'm like, we could have done like a 3-hour episode on this, because there's just like
Oh.
the compounding discussion that comes through, like the projects, the people, the identification, the outcomes. How does all this work?
We could do 3 hours just on pay for performance programs and why they create the behaviors you don't want.
Yeah.
They're creating the exact conditions you're trying to prevent.
Yeah.
With pay for performance programs. Yeah.
This is why people need to know how to find you.
Yeah. Email Andrew at precision-sme.com. Fortunately, we bought both domains, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. There you go. They feed in the same place.
Andrew at precision-sme.com. Reece, I met you a year and a half ago, and dude, it's you've come a long way from webinars to podcasts to however many. You guys have tons of clients now, so I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It's been a fun ride. And you know what makes it fun, Andrew? Meeting people like you. This industry is full of them. It's full of them. There's just, that's the whole intention here. We want to get the word out for the fine contractors of America.
You say that to all the ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't mean it.
Actually, I think this is the first time that I've ever said that on a podcast.
You're very kind. It's great to be with you.
Actually, though. So, okay, cool. Well, we'll go ahead and put a plug in this, and certainly doesn't mean we can't catch up in the future. But I appreciate you. Wish you the best at Precision SME, found at precision-sme.com. Currently under construction, but keep these guys on your radar. Again, this is a classic Midwestern goodbye. Just like it takes forever to say goodbye. But no, I appreciate you, sir, and we'll close it out here.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Reece.